Hey guys, it's Rhonda from Rhonda's Creative Corner, where we teach you to make mums and wreaths and how to perfect your craft. Alright guys, today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this amazing bow. Alright guys, so let's talk about tools and supplies we'll need for this bow. You're going to need scissors, you'll also need some wire cutters and a zip tie and pipe cleaners. For the supplies, you're going to need two 2.5-inch ribbons and two 1.5-inch ribbons. Alright, and you're also going to need this Easter pick. You can get a 5-yard kit or a 10-yard kit on our website, www.rhondascreativecorner.com. Alright, so let's get started on the project. I took my tail and I measured it 14 inches. I then took it down inside of the 2 pegs that I have on the Rhonda's Creative Station. And now I'm going to make sure that I have a lot of slack pulled on the side. Pulling the slack helps you to be able to make the bow easier, okay? So now I'm taking it and measuring it at 6 inches there. And I'm doing the same thing on that side. As you can see what I'm doing with my hands, I'm making sure that I don't have any kinks there in the middle to make when I tie my bow together, to make sure that we don't have any slippage in the bow. All right, again, measuring. Then I'm going to pull my ribbons up. All right, and on this one, we're doing the bottom layer, we're doing 3 loops. So the main thing to do is to put your hand there and not push your ribbon down. Make sure that you still have a nice loop over on the side. I do not like pushing my ribbon all the way flat. This helps your bow to be a little bit more fluffy when you don't flatten it out like that, all right? All of my loops on each side, all 3 loops are going to be 6 inches. So just in case you don't have a Rhonda's Creative Station or Easy Bow Maker, when I say 6 inches, that actually means 12 inches. So if you're measuring out on your mat, you would measure each loop at 12 inches. All right, so here I am measuring my last loop, and as you can see, if you've been paying attention what I'm doing when I'm making this bow, every loop that I made, I turned the ribbon to the ugly side and then brought it over to the pretty side. On the next ribbon, I'll demonstrate and tell you what to do to make the perfect bow. All right, so what I did here is I just cut my bow tails evenly. All right, now I'm going in, making sure no kinks, making sure that everything looks good before I start on the next ribbon. Now I'm grabbing my Easter egg ribbon and I am cutting off the part. These are brand new rolls of ribbon, and so they always fold apart when they make the ribbon, so I'm just cutting that extra piece off. All right, I'm using one of my tails that is already made to do my measurement for my next tail. I am going an inch shorter than I went on that other one. All right, so we're taking it down. We're going to turn the ribbon up. As you saw, I used my hand pulling down and turning, taking the ugly side up. All right, so now that you have the ugly side up, you'll pull your slack, and then you're going to take your ribbon down, and then you're going to measure. So when making your bows, it's really up to you and how you want your bow to look. You can have all of your loops the same size. You can go a half an inch shorter. You can go a whole inch shorter. It's really up to you. So the more you go in and the shorter you make your bow, the more layered look you'll have, okay? So here you go. You see me now, I'm getting the ribbon and I am going an inch shorter. So I'm pushing it down, making sure my loop is okay. And then you'll see me here in a second and I turn the ribbon up. Make sure you turn the ribbon up and make sure you don't have any kinks in there. Make sure you take your time when you're making your bows. There's no need to rush, especially if you're just starting off. The slower you go, the easier it is for you to learn to make bows, okay? Now there I didn't even measure. I just used that top loop to be able to measure how big I wanted that loop to be. And I'm measuring it the same size as the one that's on top with my Easter eggs on it. All right, so now we're doing 2 loops. I'm only going to do 2 loops on the second layer. And so what I'm going to do is just take my ribbon and I'm just going to cut my ends. All right. All right, as you can see, each layer that I'm going to do, I take my time and I go in and I make sure that everything looks good before I go to the new layer. Yes, it can shift, especially if you've been using your Rhonda's Creative Station or your Easy Bow Maker a lot. The pegs kind of stretch out a little bit, but the key is that you're making sure that you're paying attention to everything that you're doing, okay? You're making sure that everything looks good before you move on to the next step. That is a key thing that I teach in my Rhonda's Creative Circle subscription group, is making sure that you take your time and you do what you're supposed to make your wreath look good. All right, on to the 1.5-inch ribbon. I did measure my tails longer because if you guys have been with me for a while, you guys know that I love the way that the 1.5-inch ribbon twists. You know, when we're doing our tails, I like it better than I do the 2.5. So I made it longer. I made it 18 inches. All right, so there I'm going in another inch, as you can see. But I'm actually not measuring. I'm actually using the ribbon that's on the bottom of it to measure about an inch. All right, so I am just eyeballing it. If you're just starting off, then go ahead and measure it. It's no big deal. I just went in 1 more inch, okay? So saying that, this is about 4 inches that I'm measuring the pink ribbon. All right. And I am still just using my hand to keep my loop from not being flat. Straightening out my loops. Making sure, eyeballing it, making sure that it looks good, making sure that it looks even. If you measure it, you can get more accurate measurement. But I like to do my tutorials different. And the last one, I measured every time. So I wanted to do something different and show that the beginners, what you can do, and people who are advanced as well, what you can do too. All right, so here I grabbed my zip tie, and I am going to show you guys how to use the zip tie as well. You can either use a pipe cleaner or a zip tie, but the zip tie does get it a lot tighter than a pipe cleaner would, especially when you're adding your pick and stuff to the bow. All right, so same thing here. You put it down, put your ugly side up, then you're going to take it over, and I'm going in about another inch there. All right, maybe about a ½ inch. And so about 3.5 inches if you want to measure it. So the higher you go in the bow, a little bit harder it is to be able to measure your bows there on your Rhonda's Creative Station. But with this one, we're just making 2 loops, 1 on each side, okay? So we did 3, 2, 2, 1. That is the recipe for this bow. All right. So if you saw my other tutorial that I did using a bow and adding snowflakes to it, I believe I put the snowflakes before everything. So I wanted to do this different to show you that you can do it differently. If you want to, you can always, with how I would do it, if you're just beginning as well, you can put the 2.5-inch ribbons and then add your picks to the center of your 2 prongs that you have on your station or your easy bow maker, and then add the other 1.5 ribbons on top of it. So this, I just wanted to do a different tutorial, so I'm showing you guys this way, but either way will work perfectly, okay? All right, guys, as you can see, I am just pulling apart the pick. If you buy this particular pick from me, it is very easy to take apart. You can do it with wire cutters as well, but when you pull it apart, a lot of times I do get a longer stem on the part that I'm pulling apart, and that helps a lot with being able to put it in between the 2 pegs that are there on the station. All right, so I'm going to take the little bunny and I'm going to actually lift both of the 1.5-inch ribbons up, and I'm going to place it in between the 2. So I'm sandwiching all of the pick stems in between the 2.5 and the 1.5. As you can see, I am angling it in between the 2 pegs on the station, and then I am making sure that it is in the right placement. By placing it in between the 2 pegs, I know for sure that when I put my pipe cleaner or my zip tie on, that it will be inside of the bow and be connected with the zip tie. So I do get my wire cutters here, and I cut the stem off a little bit of some of them because they are actually really, really long. But if they're not too long, I would say maybe about 5 inches or so, 5 or 6 inches, then just leave them alone. If they're longer than that, then you can go ahead and cut some of it off. All right, so here I am. I'm putting in the little carrot on the side, making sure that I am placing it in between the 2 pegs. I will do all of the different picks like this and just do them at different angles. I actually want to have one of the picks on each side of on all four angles of the bow, if that makes sense. So every side, I'm going to have something. If it's an egg or if it's a flower, whatever it is, I want to have something on all four sides of the bow. One of the good things about making bows and adding stuff to it, you can always put it in there and then you can take it out. If you don't like a particular thing going a certain way, you can always just pull it out and put it a different way or use it some other kind of way. All right. Just like how my bunny got out of place. If it gets out of place, just go in and put it back in the place that it goes to. And one thing that you do need to remember, that at the end of everything, make sure to go and cut the extra stems off. So you leave them long so you know that they're long enough to go through and be in the place that you want them to be, like as long as you want them to be or as short as you want them to be, and then you go in and cut the stems on after you zip tie everything together. Okay, I will tell you again at the end of the video to remind you to do this, but I was just thinking about it as I was overdubbing it, so I wanted to tell you. All right, so here I'm just seeing if I want to use the curly cues. I didn't end up using them at all, but I did use the little grass-like part of the pick right there that I have in my hand there. I did use that, but I never ended up using the little curly cues. But you have it. If you get this kit from me, you do have it, so you can definitely use it if you want to. Okay, now I'm just straightening everything up, making sure that I like everything. Alright guys, so now grab your zip tie or your pipe cleaner, whichever one you want to use. I do prefer when I have things inside my bow to use a zip tie, preferably over a pipe cleaner. So now you're just going to wrap it around. You're going to make sure to take it underneath your bunny little feet, and you're going to grab it and you're going to tie it together. So make sure when you're pulling it together that you have it on the right side. You want the groove side on the bottom, and then you're going to lift up. So I went ahead and tied it together, and I lift up, and I didn't tie it all the way together. You want to make sure that you wait, and then you're going to take the part that you put together. You're going to take that to the back. You want the tail part of it to be in the back, and you're going to pull it a little bit, and then you're going to adjust your bow. Make sure that you take your time and you adjust your bow. All right, so here I am, and I'm grabbing all of that was off a little bit if you saw it move. I'm making sure that all of my loops are looking the same, about the same size, that everything is okay. And then I'm going to grab my pipe cleaner, and I am going to place it underneath. If I was doing a grapevine wreath, I would use another zip tie, but I am going to be using this on a wreath, so I'm going to use a pipe cleaner. Now, after I place that, before I tighten it tight again, I'm going to take all of my loops. I'm going to fluff all of them and make sure that they are the same size or looking good, you know, making sure I don't have anything in the middle that is bunched too much before I pull it tight. Okay, so now that I know that everything is okay, I'm going to take it, I'm going to pull the zip tie as tight as I can. Okay, and again, you're going to go in and fluff. One of the key things about doing a bow is the fluffing. You want to make sure that you fluff your bow and make sure that you don't have any of your loops that are smushed, any of your loops that do not look good. The purpose of having a bow is to be sometimes a filler or something fluffy, something beautiful that you don't want flat. You don't want to make a bow and your bow be flat. Okay, as you guys can see here, I'm grabbing all of my pick parts that I put in there, and I'm lifting them up to the front. I want to make sure that they're not hidden by the bow. I want to make sure that everything is seen. All right, so now I am grabbing the pink ribbon, and you can use whichever ribbon you want to, and I'm going to cut between 8 to 10 inches off, and this is going to be the center of my bow. So now I'm going to take the scissors again, and I'm going to cut this ribbon in half. So now I'm going to fold the ribbon onto itself. I'm just taking and making it into 3 separate parts. So I fold one side to the middle, the other side to the middle, and then I use it for my center. Okay, so it is a little bit difficult with having the bunny there, but you do want your bunny to already be tied in, so you just have to work with it. Just take the ribbon underneath the bunny and then take it around to the back. Okay, so I am going to tell you when you do this, because your ribbon can kind of come undone, make sure to check the front. Oh yeah, and make sure to cut your zip tie too. I forgot to do that. So make sure to cut your zip tie, and then you're going to tie a knot. So before I tie the knot and tie it tight, I am going to look at the front to make sure that it looks good, because putting it underneath the bunny, it can kind of come apart. So just make sure that it looks good and your ends are still tucked under. All right. Tie your knot and then cut your ends. All right, again, you're going to take a look at it, make sure you fluff, and make sure that it looks good. All right, guys, before we get started with the tails, I wanted to remind you guys again to make sure to remember, especially if you're selling your bows, make sure to go in and cut the tails off of your pick stems. All right. All right, guys, so let's talk about dovetailing. I know a lot of you guys have been with me for a while, but I have been getting new people to my page, and I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. All right. So now you're going to take your ribbon and we're going to do a dovetail. You're actually going to fold it in half. As you can see, I'm folding the ribbon in half, making sure that it's even. All right, and then you're going to take your scissors and put them on the folded side and cut up at an angle to your open side. So open side would be the part that the wire is in. All right, so fold it. You're going to take the closed side and put it up at an angle to the open side, and you're going to make beautiful dovetails. And you will continue to do this, and you can choose what you want to do. On this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do a dovetail and how to cut your ribbon at an angle. So my 1.5s, I cut them dovetailed, and then my 2.5s, I will show you how to cut your ribbon at an angle. All right, and with your dovetails, you can choose how deep you want your V's to be in your dovetail, and it's really up to your taste. I don't like mine too deep, but I do not like them shallow. I prefer deeper over it being shallow on my dovetails. All right, so here we go. We're going to cut at an angle, and so what you want to do is you want to take your scissors, and on the outside of your ribbon, you want to have your scissors and point it up at an angle. All right, so you take your scissors to the outside of your ribbon and you point it up at an angle, and that way when the ribbon is down together, it looks like it has a V, like it's a dovetail, like the two pieces are match up together and are dovetailed. So see what I mean? It looks like it's a little V. All right, so again, I'll show you here again on the pink ribbon. You're going to take your ribbon, or your scissors, excuse me, on the outside, and then you're going to cut up at an angle. All right, so then we're going to do it again on the other side. You use the outside of your ribbon, take your scissors and cut it up at an angle, and then you have some beautiful dovetails and some beautiful angle cuts on the end of your ribbon tails. All right, guys, so now that we're done dovetailing, I want to talk to you guys about two different ways that you can curl your ribbons. So one of the key things, what you need to do when you're doing this, is to utilize the wire that is in there. As you can see, what I just did before I started, I rubbed my fingers, my two fingers, down the wire to make sure that my ribbon is straight. You want to use the wire. Now this technique, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the ribbon tail, and I'm just rolling it up, and I'll demonstrate on this one as well. Take a look at how I rub my fingers. See how I'm rubbing my hand going down the ribbon, making sure that it's nice and straight. And then I make about a 1-inch curl, and then I curl it all the way up, and I go all the way up. All right, and then I take my end part and then I pull it. All right, turns out really pretty. And so another way that you can do it, straighten out, and then you're just going to take it and you're just going to curl it. So when you have good quality ribbon, which you can get at www.rhondascreativecorner.com, when you have quality ribbon, then your tails curl nicely. When you don't have good quality ribbon, they don't look as nice. You always want to make sure that you're getting quality ribbon when you buy ribbon. So all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to push that notification bell. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them down in the comments, or you can email me at rhondascreativecorner@gmail.com. All right, guys, until next time. Bye, guys.